As part of my ongoing series examining the Dutch alphabet, today I am talking about three more letters, and those letters are P, Q, and R, and that is P, Q, and R in English. One note I have to make is about the letter R. I apologize. For the life of me, physically, I seem to be unable to roll an R, and my Mexican relatives can tell you that. They can attest to that fact. When I was in Mexico way back when, I remember them coaching me in terms of how to say the word sombrero with a little Mexican rolled R and flair on that R. And yeah, for the life of me, I just can't do it. And I wish I could because I've heard Dutch people say the word Haarlem, where I live, with a little bit of a rolled R. I don't think it's quite the same as it would be in Spanish. From what I understand, the Dutch add a kind of guttural emphasis on their R. It's kind of in the back of the tongue. R. Just can't do it, guys. So air will have to suffice for these purposes. To kick things off, we begin with the letter P or P. And I've made a list because there are really quite a few P's in the Netherlands. And I will just begin at the beginning. And the first one I've noted is the word proost, which the Dutch use to say cheers. If they're going to clink their glasses and have a drink, they say proost. And then we have Prinsjesdag, and it's similar to the State of the Union address in the US or speech to the British state opening of Parliament, and that is Prinsjesdag. And speaking of Parliament, that's another great P that can be, or pay, sorry, that can be applied to the Netherlands because the Netherlands has a parliament, so that is certainly a pay that is relevant here. One that readily comes to mind for me is the word polders. And polders are really reclaimed land or a way of keeping the water away from vast areas of land by creating a small canal or moat, if you will, around sections of land. As many of you may know, 1/3 of the Netherlands is below sea level. So the polders are very important in terms of water regulation. And something else that's worth mentioning with regard to polders is the polder model, which is a Dutch method of consensus-based decision making. And that emerged from the economic and social politics of the 1980s and 1990s. And it emphasizes cooperation despite differences and pragmatic pluralism. So that's just a method of administering the government, the polder model, and is quite typical of the Netherlands. Another great pay, of course, is pepernoten, which are the little speculoos, little gingerbread cookies, really. They're very small. And every year during Sinterklaas, the Zwarte Pieten, which are Santa's helpers, they tend to sort of throw the pepernoten to the kids or give the pepernoten to the kids. And in fact, pepernoten have become so popular over the years here in the Netherlands that there are now shops. I know that there's one here in Haarlem which specializes in pepernoten. And there's every imaginable flavor. You can get chocolate-covered pepernoten, which are delicious, and you can get salty caramel pepernoten and limoncello pepernoten, and every imaginable flavor. So when you are here, I recommend that you give that a try because pepernoten are typically Dutch and yeah, a delicacy worth trying. Speaking of Dutch delicacies that happen to begin with the letter P, we may think of poffertjes, which are really like small, mini pancakes the size of like a 50-cent piece in the US, and it's poured dough on a grill, and it's a very special grill with little indentations for each of the poffertjes. And once they are cooked and they're turned over and cooked thoroughly like a little pancake, They're often sprinkled with powdered sugar. You'll find sometimes in the markets, on the weekend markets, someone making poffertjes, and it's something definitely worth trying while you're here. I guess it has a taste, like I say, like a pancake or even maybe like a churro, similar. And another Dutch delicacy that begins with the letter P is pannenkoeken, which are the Dutch pancakes, which tend to be thinner than the American style pancakes. They're quite large. They're a little bit more on the savory side. And of course, you can get any manner of variety of toppings. I know that I sometimes go to a pannenkoeken house, a little place that makes pancakes, Dutch pancakes here in Haarlem in the park. And there I have had in the past the pannenkoeken with cherries on the top, and it's delicious. So that's another treat that is worth a try and begins with the letter P. I also could think of the city of Purmerend, which is here nearby Amsterdam. And actually, it's a very conveniently located city nearby Amsterdam. So if you're working there, there are many people who live in Purmerend. It's well connected by public transportation. And there is a remarkable footbridge, quite famous in Purmerend, and it's really very high to cross this large body of water, and it connects the old historic city of Purmerend with the sort of the new development there. So that's Purmerend. Another great pay word that comes to mind is the word pompoen, and I really love that word, pompoen. It's the Dutch word for pumpkin, which is another pay or p. And for me personally, I have to say it's one of my faves because every Saturday, without fail, for at least 15 years now, I have gone to the Saturday market here in Haarlem and have bought handmade raviolis by a vendor there named Bianca. Hello, Bianca. And she sells these handmade raviolis, one of which is filled with a pompoen, a pompoen puree, pepe. And so it's a pumpkin puree. Delicious. She has a couple of other raviolis, one that is filled with a ricotta cheese with a bit of truffle, which is to die for, is so delicious. And then another one with aubergine, which we in the US call eggplant. So pompoen is the pay word for me. And another great pay that I could not go without mentioning, and is certainly one of my favorites, is patat, otherwise known in certain parts of the Netherlands as friet or friets. And those are what we in the US call French fries. And yeah, it's readily available in most cities. You can go to a vendor that sells nothing but patat or friet, and they have various toppings with either zonder, which is just sprinkled with a little bit of salt, which is actually how I like them, but also with pinda sauce, which is just peanut butter, really, sort of, and oorlog, which is kind of a combination of sauces. It means war, and I guess it is a battle of flavors on top of the patat. So the pay word that I'm referring to is patat. But for me, I am going to go, because it's so relevant to my daily life here in the Netherlands, I'm going to go with the word paraplu. Also because it's just a great word. And paraplu is simply umbrella. And without a paraplu, you'd be lost in the Netherlands because we do get a lot of rain. I have said in another video that statistically speaking, we get about 100 minutes of rain per day on average. Now, this is not to say that it rains every day, thankfully. It does not, but the days that it doesn't are more than made up for on days when, boy, we will get more than 100 minutes in a day. So on average, that's what it is. So we get a lot of rain, And so a paraplu beginning with the letter P is ever so important. And now the letter you've all been waiting for, the letter Q. And I say that because I know my Dutch friends have expressed curiosity about how exactly I was going to navigate the letter Q or Q, because there really are not a lot of Q words in Dutch. There are some. The first three that I'm going to mention are words which are borrowed from other languages, ultimately, but they are, in fact, Dutch words. And those are quinoa or quinoa. I'm not sure how you may pronounce it, but that is a trendy superfood, a grain, which is very popular here and widely available, quinoa, and it begins with the letter Q. The other one is quiche, another delicacy, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, which would originally come from France, that word. And so that's another Q word. And the word quiz. And that's a Q word. And a quiz is a quiz. It's a form of a test, a small test. Or you might have a sort of a quiz show, I suppose, on television. But the three legitimate Dutch coups that come to mind are Koe Park, which is one of the three largest parking organizations in Europe, and it's based in Maastricht. They have many parking garages throughout the Netherlands. That's Koe Park. So that's a Dutch company that begins with the letter Q. And another Dutch company that's personal to me that begins with the letter Q is Quick. My bike is a Quick bike. That's Q W A E say QWIC, Quick. And well, it's a e-bike manufacturer here in the Netherlands, relatively recent. It's not an old company like some of the Dutch bike manufacturers, but it's a good one, and those Quick bikes are quick. So that's one coup that I can mention that is a favorite of mine. But I think the all-time favorite coup for me, and it is again a Dutch invention because they're such an innovative people, and it is a Dutch company, and that's Quooker. And I use my Quooker multiple times a day, and it is a remarkable innovation. It is a faucet that is in your kitchen sink. It's your one and only single faucet in your kitchen sink, and you have, of course, cold water and hot water at your disposal. But what is special about the Quooker is with a couple of little special maneuvers and turns on the faucet, you get instant boiling water. Instant boiling water. So if you want to make a cup of tea, you put a tea bag in your cup and you walk over to your Quooker and a couple little hits and twists of the faucet, and you have instantaneous boiling water. Incredible. So it's also handy and more efficient. If you're cooking and you need to, I don't know, boil some pasta, you can fill the pot with boiling water from the Quooker instantly rather than taking the time to heat it up on your gas or electric stove. So it is more efficient in that matter. No surprise, the Dutch are always on top of efficiency. So Quooker is my favorite coup. And now for the letter R, which is largely unpronounceable to me. That's a close approximation. The letter R in English. And there are many, so again, I've had to take some notes just so I don't leave any out. And I know I'll leave some out anyway. So guys, please, let me know in the comments if I've left out your favorite pay or your favorite coup or your favorite air. The first air on my list is Rotterdam. How could I not mention Rotterdam? It is the second largest city in the Netherlands. It is the largest port in Europe, so it's extremely important economically to the country of the Netherlands. It was sadly heavily bombed during World War II. So many of the existing structures were destroyed at that time, but that has then made room for many skyscrapers, frankly, to be built. It is, in some respects, the most American in terms of its skyline of the cities in the Netherlands. It's a lot of tall, as I say, skyscrapers, glass, modern buildings. So it's an interesting city to explore because there is that wonderful contrast between some of the old historical buildings and the new modern architecture. I've noted that Rotterdam's history dates back to 1270 when a dam was built in the Rotte River. It received city rights in 1340, and that was given to the city of Rotterdam by William IV, who was the Count of Holland. Another impressive air here in the Netherlands and in Europe in general is the Rhine River. It is one of Europe's longest and most significant rivers, flowing 765 miles through Switzerland, Austria, Germany, France, the Netherlands, and Liechtenstein. It has been a major trade route since Roman times and serves as a crucial link between southern and northern Europe. So that's the Rhine River. Two airs there in a row. Another air that I could not go without mentioning is rookworst, which is smoked sausage. Very popular here. It's a traditional Dutch sausage, and it's eaten with stamppot, of course, which is the mashed potatoes with vegetables, one of the classic dishes. So rookworst, and I know many people like to get their rookworst from Hema. I know that the rookworst at Hema is very popular, and of course there are many others. Tell me in the comments where your favorite rookworst comes from. Another air that I could mention, if I consult my list, is the rijsttafel. And that is an elaborate Indonesian meal that has been adopted by the Dutch. And it's inspired by the nasi padang from West Sumatra and consists of up to 40 small dishes, including sambals and satay, egg rolls, vegetables, pickles, nuts, and fruit, and that is the rijsttafel. And it's spread out over a large table, very colorful, many exotic flavors. Really one of the great dishes that can be had here in the Netherlands. One air that affects most of us most of the time, much of the time, is regen, and that's rain. It is a rainy country, and it's an all too common aspect of life here in the Netherlands. So I would be remiss, another air, if I didn't mention regen. Another great air here in the Netherlands is Rembrandt, and he is formerly called Rembrandt van Rijn. So there's a couple of airs there in his name. He's one of the greatest Dutch painters of the Golden Age, and he's known for his masterpieces such as the Night Watch and self-portraits. And the Night Watch is available to be seen at the Rijksmuseum, which is another air worth mentioning here, and that is really the landmark museum in Amsterdam. Definitely worth a visit, the Rijksmuseum, so that's another air. And then you've got the Rijksdaalder, which is a former Dutch coin worth 2.5 guilders. Guilders was the form of currency prior to the introduction of the euro, and the Rijksdaalder is a coin that originally contained some degree of silver, and it used to feature a portrait of Queen Wilhelmina. And it has its roots in the Holy Roman Empire, and that's just another air worth mentioning. And then another one that comes to my mind is Rabobank, which is a famous bank here in the Netherlands, and it's considered a farmer's bank. So it has cooperative origins and strong focus on agriculture and sustainability. That's Rabobank. But my favorite air, without a doubt, in the Netherlands is Rogge Brood. And forgive my pronunciation of that, because there's a couple of G's in there, a couple of G's in there, and you know, it's a dense word for a dense bread. It is a dark rye bread. It's often eaten with butter, cheese, or fish. I personally like to eat it plain. There's one particular brand, Bolecha, I think it's called, of roggebrood that I like to buy. And that is based on a Friesen recipe from Friesland. And from my research, I see that there are Brabant, Friesen, Gelderland, Groningen, Limburg, and Overijssel rye breads, and that the Friesen and Brabant rye breads, two important types, differ in many ways. And I've written this down because I could not remember this off of the top of my head, but Brabant rye bread is baked for a short time, and it contains half wheat flour and is prepared with yeast or sourdough. In addition, it is made from ground rye, whereas the Frisian bread, which is the one that I buy the most and which I really love, has a long baking time and is made with soaked and boiled old rye bread and contains no yeast or sourdough. It is mainly made from broken rye grains, and the taste is a little bit sweeter than the Brabant form of roggebrood. So roggebrood, as difficult as it is to say, is so easy to love. It is a rye bread that I really enjoy, and it's my favorite air. There you have it. Those are the letters of P, Q, and R in the Dutch alphabet. I've given you a lot to digest, and I invite you to let me know in the comments some of your choices. And I will say that I appreciate you joining me on the journey, and thank you for continuing to watch my videos. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Tot ziens!